So, in issues 23 to 25 of the Exiles 2001 comic, we see a reality where Iron Man takes over the world. So, the story starts out with Iron Man looking out over the horizon in New York City, which is the capital of the country in this universe. The narrator talks about Tony Stark and how he's the monarch of Earth and how he planned to take over the world. The narrator continues that at an early age, he acquired multiple businesses and conglomerates and he had a strangle of the entire globe financially. But then the Mutant War began with Magneto as their leader and they launched an attack on all of humanity. The war pitted every superhero and villain on the planet against one another and you see Iron Man fighting Wolverine. But the narrator says that many lives were lost, one being Captain America's. It was revealed though that Iron Man had a deal with Magneto that after this he would rule over what was left of humanity. However, Tony Stark double-crossed Magneto and then killed Magneto, which was broadcasted across the entire planet, which made everyone view him as a hero. Once the Mutant War was over, a famine ripped the world apart. A powerful virus tore through the meat industry and a fungal rot devastated the wheat production. Millions died, but once again Tony Stark came to the rescue with cures, but he was responsible for the famine in the first place. He accepted the Nobel Prize and became President of the United States. Stark also had made a deal with Dr. Doom, who double-crossed Tony first. Doom was supposed to attack Washington, D.C. and destroy the political structure and kill every opponent against Stark. And he did, but then Doom tried to kill Tony. However, we cut to the present and Iron Man wears Doom's cape, which means he ended up killing him. Tony rules with an iron fist and orders for a reporter who's speaking out against him to be killed and says that the media is their tool. Later in Stark's personal medical center, he lies on a table as holograms are turned off and it was revealed that he was badly injured in his fight against Doom and his face was badly burned and scarred. Tony hired the greatest cosmetic surgeon in the world to try and fix his face, but it's still a work in progress. But one of Tony's henchmen brings him news that they found them, and by them it's revealed to be the Inhumans, who are led by Black Bolt and Sue Storm in this universe. The home of the Inhumans, the city of Adelon, is hidden beneath the Pacific, and they are forced to run and hide as they're being hunted. Sue tells the Inhumans to prepare for battle as Tony plans to attack them. Sue and Black Bolt have a plan to use the G-Barrier, which was created by Reed Richards, who discovered Tony's true plans during the Mutant Wars but died along with Black Bolt's former wife Medusa. Sue walks down her kingdom as she feels the irony of loving Reed Richards, a man so full of knowledge that he could barely restrain himself from speech, while on the other, that being Black Bolt, is cursed with an uncontrollable power brought on by his own voice. Tony finds Adelon and begins an invasion and sends the Iron Legion to go and capture the Inhumans. The battle begins as the Iron Legion engages with the forces of Adelon. Arcutus, one of the Inhumans, manages to set off the G-Barrier to go off in time, just as the Iron Legion tries to engage them head-on. It gets activated and the narrator tells us that Reed created it to stop Galactus from consuming Earth, and that not even he could get past the barrier, and that before his death, he gave it to the Inhumans. One of Stark's men tells him that their army was wiped out and that the force field is disintegrating everything they're throwing at it, but as Tony turns around, someone off-panel visits him. But then it flashes back to that day Doom tried to overthrow Stark, but he failed as Tony killed him and took his cloak. And in the end, it has been since that day that there is only Tony Stark, Iron Man, the Sovereign of Earth. But then it cuts back to show who was talking to Stark, and it was actually Weapon X who showed up, which includes Gambit, Spider-Man, She-Hulk, Vision, Storm, and Angel. After introducing themselves, you learn that they leap from reality to reality righting wrongs, and Tony sees it as a load of crap. He threatens them, but they tell him to stand down. Gambit says that they're here to help, and to prove it, Gambit tells Tony that he knows he killed his father when he was 14, even though he never told another soul. Tony stands down and they walk through the presidential courtyard with Tony saying that he wants the Inhumans alive, and that Reed created a key to take down the force field as guards try to attack them. Tony apologizes, saying he forgot to tell them to stand down, and he tells them that Reed left it with Simon Richards, aka Wonder Man. Tony tells them, saying that years ago he was able to kill the Hulk by dropping a high concentrated gamma bomb on him, but Wonder Man was standing 20 feet away at the time and absorbed all of the energy. He killed the Hulk, but just made something stronger, but he says that Simon doesn't interfere if Tony just leaves him alone, and that he's with Scarlet Witch and that they're gonna steal the key from him. Near Hawaii, Scarlet Witch is with Wonder Man, but they also have Doctor Strange, who's missing 2 legs, that's also with them. Weapon X sneaks in, but are found out by Doctor Strange, and before he can do anything, Spider-Man shoots his webs. The webhead threatens to kill him if he makes a sound, but Simon finds them as he punches She-Hulk through the wall. Wonder Man starts tearing through them, yelling he's gonna kill them all as She-Hulk tries tackling him. Meanwhile, Vision and Angel phase through the walls to go and find the key. Gambit tries to calm Simon down but fails as Storm launches a bolt of lightning, but she's blasted away by Scarlet Witch. However, Spider-Man tries and flirts with her as he fights her off. He threatens Wanda, holding her hostage thinking that'll work, but it just makes Wonder Man angrier, which makes him stronger. He jumps towards the webhead in a fit of rage, smashing the ground as Spidey jumps away. Gambit then throws a device that opens up a portal to the negative zone as he and Spider-Man hold on. She-Hulk smashes into Wonder Man and the portal sucks both her and Simon in as she yells at Weapon X to help her, but Spider-Man lets her get sucked into the portal. With Simon and She-Hulk in the negative zone, Weapon X gets a new member in the form of Colossus. Back in New York, Tony and Weapon X plan to use the key to take the barrier down, and in his throne room, Black Bolt looks distraught as he knows the end is near. He looks out onto his kingdom, and even with a little hope, he promises that the Inhumans will never be hunted again. Black Bolt flies through his kingdom as Sue watches from afar. She talks to her husband and finds him reading books on races that have been slaughtered, and she questions what he's trying to find. Until she realizes the horror of what he plans to do. She begs him not to do this and that there must be another way. But another Inhuman tells Black Bolt that the key has been stolen, and Sue understands that Black Bolt means to go through with his plan. In the White House war room, Tony and Weapon X make plans to defeat the Inhumans. And Tony's hired superpowered mercenaries, and in the background you can see the Thing, Daredevil, and Ghost Rider. Tony says they'll lead the charge, and he gets visual on Adelon and realizes Black Bolt is trying to take the fight away from the civilians. Then, hours later, over the Pacific, the battle's about to begin as Weapon X and the Iron Legion fly forward. Meanwhile, Black Bolt and Sue watch from afar as they kiss one last time, but Sue has a plan of her own that she didn't tell Black Bolt. Stark gets visual on the Inhumans and orders for all his forces to engage, and the fight begins. Both sides launch towards one another, and in the sky you can see Weapon X members along with a Thing jumping down. Gambit tries to get the key or disruptor to the barrier, but Storm needs to clear a path for Colossus. Then we see some of the Inhumans fighting, one being Karnak, who can see the flaw in anything. With that knowledge, can take down anything. Vision confronts Karnak and tries to get the upper hand, but the Inhuman finds even Vision's weakness as both are taken down. Colossus tells Gambit he's at the target point but sees the Thing get knocked back. But all the while, Black Bolt stands ready above his kingdom as every living being in Adelon above and below the surface accepts what he's about to do. Gambit and Vision manage to take down another Inhuman named Gorgon as the disruptor is activated and the barrier is taken down. But the narrator talks about how in 70 CE a group of 1,000 Jews took over a mountaintop and withstood a 2-year siege by a Roman legion. It was eventually overtaken and they found out the truth of what happened, and Black Bolt followed the same course, just as Gambit and Weapon X find out what he did. Every single person was dead, and Black Bolt was responsible. Gambit realizes what's about to happen and he yells for everyone to get out of there as Black Bolt flies into the sky. He takes off his costume and prepares to yell. The King of the Inhumans yells as loud as he can, the name of that event in history, that being Masada, as he explodes and dies, taking all of Adelon with him. It then shows Iron Man sitting alone in his garden as the narrator reveals that Weapon X was always meant to help Stark fail. Iron Man didn't care about the army, but about how he lost the chance to use the Inhumans to conquer the stars. The narrator says that not all the Inhumans are gone though, and they'll begin again in secret, and that Black Bolt's plan worked perfectly. Tony's hologram fails and shows his true face, but just as this happens, he's stabbed from behind through the throat by Sue. She tells Tony that there's only 300 of them left, and she was left to lead them, but she had to come back because she couldn't let him live. But just as she does, the security makes their way over and Sue accepts her fate, as her last words are that she'll soon be with both her loves, that being Reed and Black Bolt. And the comic ends as the guards shoot and kill Sue, as her body falls to the ground next to Tony, who also dies. And the narrator goes on saying that after this, everything Iron Man did would come to light, and it would turn out everyone would know that it took the sacrifice of an entire nation and one woman who loved their king to free the world from a monster.